So it seems both in the FTSE and in the DAX we got a little bit of a gap down. Nothing major. Right, let me just get these stake sizes correct. DAX is 30. I don't know if you know this, but when I left you yesterday, the account was at 119,700, so just shy of 120,000. And then I made a colossal boo-boo, and that was behind the scenes. And my account actually went down to 115,300 because I pressed the button too many times, which is a bit unusual for me. It was like there was a lag. So there you go. We got, I'm so tempted just to buy the FTSE because every single morning it goes up. Did you know that? Every single morning. I could just have a buy order there. Yeah, I put a buy order in at 165. So let's have a look at the... Oh, didn't happen this time. So the DAX Espresso would come in at, so we got at 92, so that would be about 116. Well, since it didn't rally, I'll delete this order again. $72. So the high is 592. So technically my buy price should be at 610. But you know what? We are the window of opportunity is rapidly disappearing. This is what I mean about the FTSE. Obviously this time around it was negative. Looks like we're going to have a first bar negative. I would be a buyer down here at 21. Nothing happened in the DAX yet with 16 seconds to go. So I'm going to draw a line here. By the way, I hope I come through all right and that you're all okay. It looks like I'm coming through okay. Yeah, should all be working. So I think I'll leave the order in anyway. Looks like I'm going to get filled in the DAX. Stand by. I'm I'm just keeping an eye on the FTSE because we're coming up to the close. No, we're not. Still a minute to go. I have been filled in the DAX. Interesting when the DAX is going one direction and the FTSE in the other. Always sort of leaves me going, what am I missing? Entry 2460. Let's just call that 610, shall we? Let's not quibble over a point. 24,529. So we filled the gap. So what's happening to you, FTSE? Why are you? So that's a first bar negative. Definitely. I'm adding to my DAX. Stand by in the FTSE. I'm buying the FTSE here. Deleting the order. I'm going to take a chance and double up on the FTSE. I'll double up again. I think this calls for some profit taking here. Closing 1, closing 2, and closing most of 3. Thank you very much. Closed FTSE. And taking some profit in the DAX on the first one. half a second. Let me just look at, whoa, I just blasted through the 120. That was a nice start. When you're long something 200%, 300%, 400%, you don't really want to overstay your welcome too long. And I suppose there's a difference between being a swing trader and you sort of, as Al Brooks says, a Walmart trade. You put on the trade and you go to Walmart and you hope that you're on a profit when you come back. Not what I was doing this morning. Let me just see if there's any questions. Usually somebody's saying thank you for the points. You're welcome. Somebody saying that YouTube seems better today. Somebody asking, when was the last time you traded Forex? 18 minutes ago. Somebody's loud and clear. Somebody's saying I can't. Someone's got problems with logging in, and that's it. That was a surprisingly few comments. One person commenting on this exceptional trading. Oh well. So just so we're clear that the stop loss is at break even on both the runners. I have an awful track record when it comes to runners. So anyway, what you witnessed here is what we call a first bar negative. Yeah. If you go to the resource channel, you will see all about first bar negative. All right, so somebody is asking me, since you invite questions, I always have trouble reconciling your best loser wins, add to winners until the very end with your daily add to winners and runaway first charts. You're gonna have to explain that to me, because at some point you're going to have to take profit, otherwise you'll be running positions forever. So, okay. All right, let me just copy and paste the question. Looks like we're going to get stopped out. As I said, I have an awful track record with the add-ons. Sorry, the runners. I'm just going to close it myself. And close it myself, no open positions. Just bear with me. I'm just I want to make sure I haven't got any opening orders. I'd like to address this question here. Hi Tom. I always have trouble reconciling your best loser wins. I imagine what you mean is the best loser win philosophy, which is add to winners until the very end. Yeah. I always have trouble reconciling your best lose wins until the very end with your daily add to winners and run away first chance. So I guess my point is, what is the exit strategy to avoid cutting winners? Okay, I think I understand the question. So let me answer this in my own way. This is the Dow Jones. It starts here. So this is what we call a regular trading hour session, and it finishes here. Yeah. So out of this session here, which consists of 96 or so, and what am I missing? Consists of 80 5-minute bars. Yeah. A typical session where I am with you tends to be up until here. Yeah. Obviously, it's one of those days where I can't draw a straight line. And so that's sort of the window where we are together. And the rest, I trade by myself or research, and you do whatever it is that you do. So I have this window where I want to help you make money. And that means that I don't have the benefit of all of this. I have 1 hour out of 6.5 hours. That means that my trading style inside this window can't be one of those of buy and hold, hoping to get a trend day. I tried that a couple of years ago, and the feedback that I got, and you must pay really close attention to what I say now. I had a period where I wanted to trade inside this window how I tend to trade for most of the trading day. And the track record was not good, because inevitably you're going to see retracements. Even in a trend day like this, where you're opening in one extreme and you're closing in the other extreme. This is a trend day, beautiful trend day. If I had bought here and here and here and here, this retracement right here would see most people bail out of how I trade. If I then bought more here or more here, people would bail out at this retracement. I had so many winners that turned into nothing during this period that I decided I'm going to create a trading style which fits this window here, meaning be aggressive, but don't overstay your welcome. If you take something like this chart here, this is where fortunes can be made. But you have to be in it. You have to take a chance to do it. And so what you have to do is to decide, well, what kind of trader do I want to be? Considering I'm only with you for this little window here, it is no good that I bet on this every single day. Because then all I would be doing for the rest of my trading day would be to update Telegram. Move stop loss here, move stop loss here. And I don't want to do that. But not for 1 second do I think that this nil and voids my philosophy of best loser wins. What you just witnessed this morning makes me a 1% trader or a 5% trader. The vast majority of traders coming in wouldn't have a game plan that has been so thoroughly tested like first bar negative. And they wouldn't have the courage and conviction to add twice more on a double up situation, being 300% long. And so the argument here is, I want to be aggressive within the context of the trading environment. I have a very clearly defined overnight range. And you may say, well, you got out of the DAX, but what if it had continued higher? Well, then that's a new trade. It isn't the same trade. I decided to get out at this double top here. Well, what if it had gone up here. Well, if it had, then I would have to assess that situation. But if I had not done what I had done and read the price action as I had, I would right now be sat with a very big loss. And so to attempt to answer your question here, what do you mean until the very end? Because at some point you have to take profit. I argue that is perhaps 1 out of 10,000 traders that has perhaps a sell short here and adds to it and adds to it and adds to it. That is a rarity. This is where the big money is made. But I also argue that there's money to be made in always attempting to press your winners. Because I think that's the quality that 99% of traders do not have. And considering that almost everybody in this game loses, I want to flip this on its head and say, what do you have to do to not be like the majority? And the very fact that you're just adding once immediately puts you in a different bracket. The very fact that you are doing something that nobody else is doing, even if it's just imperceptibly small, like you're long 10 lots and then you're adding another lot to make it 11 lots, that makes you unique. It makes you rare. And if you can keep building on that, you actually have a fighting chance of making money. But you also have to have a plan. You have to have some form of profit taking. How many times have I sat in this very forum with a big profit that then turned into zero? Do you think I get any thank yous for that? Not a single one. But if I have a loser, there is no end to the amount of comments that I get. So it's actually, let me just rephrase that. There's 3 scenarios. One. Oh, that is a slightly bigger. And so you tell me what this says about human psychology. 1, I win. I get no thank you. 2, sorry. 2, I lose. I get a lot of grief. This is not a complaint. I just need you to understand it from a human psychology point of view. It's not, I have long learned to live with this. It's when people attack my character or threatens me, that's a different thing. So when I win, I don't get a thank you from you. You never say thank you, ever. When I lose, I get a lot of grief. 3, when a winner is closed early and it continues in the original direction, I get a shitload of why did you close? And then 4, when a big winner turns into a loser, I get asked why I didn't close. Look at this, and you have to appreciate now that this is not me attacking you. This is human nature. And so I ask you, who are you? I don't care whether you thank me or not. Just fine. I do this for my own gratification. I love winning. I love making money. I make no secret of that. You can be on board and you can enjoy this. But considering there's 3, 4, 5,000 people watching me every day, when I win, I don't get 5,000 thank yous. And I probably don't want 5,000 thank yous either. But when I lose, oh my God, I never hear the end of it. When a winner is closed early and it continues in my direction, I get so many, but why did you close it? And then when a winner turns into a loser, I get asked, why didn't I close? So you tell me here, ladies and gentlemen, is this a reflection of me, or is this the reflection of mass human psychology? Because I argue it's the latter. It's got nothing to do with me and everything to do with you. There is no such thing as perfection in trading. What there is growing the account. Food for thought, huh, ladies and gentlemen? I'm just going to take a 1-minute break. If you interpreted the last little speech as a rant that I'm angry, I'm not. I am merely pointing out some traits in human behavior. It is funny though, isn't it? To me, this is funny. This bit here. With this, I'm fine. I don't really want 5,000 thank yous every single day. But this, that's the one I don't understand. It's not like I am hiding what I'm doing, and I'm playing a game of chance. It's like blaming somebody for losing in the roulette. Not that I'm suggesting that trading is gambling, because I'm not. But I can't predict the outcome of, say, cards in a poker game. Yet I can make money from playing poker. Not me personally. Don't have that skill. But others can. And when a winner is closed early, even if I've added to it, I get, why did you close? Well, I must have seen something that made me wanted to close it. For example, this morning, what did I see to close the FTSE? Well, good question. What did I see? Let's address the FTSE, because perhaps this is the intersection between intuition and research. We have a movement here in the FTSE, and it declines 43 points. Call it around 44 points. What's half of 44? This ticket I look forward to when they get rid of that ticket. Half of 44 is 22. See this? I may not register it as a number, but my eyes have been staring at charts for the better part of 3 decades. Yeah? I started trading in 1998. Fine, would you like to hear my little story? I started trading in 1998 when I was reading the Financial Times at work at Chase Manhattan Bank where I worked, and a flyer fell out, and it was for a company called Financial Spreads in London. And I thought, wow, this is exciting. I can actually trade myself. And I opened an account and predictably lost my money. What's new? Of course I did. Had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I just thought it was so cool to trade. But I was bitten, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could do this. And so, after having saved the better part of, 15,000 pounds in 1999 money, I quit my job. I quit a career job to do this, ladies and gentlemen. How insane is that? And for the next 18 months, I toiled, I struggled, I did everything I could, and I wasn't making any progress. That's not true. Of course I made progress. I just found a million new ways of losing money. Be ready for a school run along. It's clearly trading range behavior, so perhaps I'm being a little careful here. Do you know what? I would like to tell this story. So I will put in a long order here and a smaller size because I think you need to hear this story. So I quit my job, a career job, a really, really hard fought for career job, earning not good money to begin with, but I was progressing, going through the ranks. But there was something about trading that was so compelling, like a siren call, something I felt I could be good at this. I have the necessary patience and, as David would say, testicular fortitude. Not that I had any prior knowledge of this or anything that I could draw from competitive sport. Yes, I played football, yeah, I skateboarded, but it wasn't like I had been an elite performer. I just, like an average kid, I had gone to school, done okay. Then I've gone to university, done okay. But one thing I do have is I'm a hard worker and I don't give up. So I'm probably B for talent, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm A in hard work. Listen to this. I'm calling myself B for talent, but A for attitude, and A in hard work. After 18 months, I more or less lost all the money I'd saved. But through some miracle, I had actually gotten very friendly with the people at Financial Spreads that I was trading with. And through sheer luck and coincidence, I met the CEO, and he was looking for somebody who could educate other traders and who could go on TV and talk about the markets. And I have a bachelor's and a master's degree, in finance, and so I knew a fair bit about the markets. I think we're going to get a fill now. And so it just so happens that I worked for Financial Spreads for about a year until they merged with a company which I think later on went on to be called ODL Securities. And one afternoon at lunchtime, I was walking down the street in the financial district in London, and this Mercedes-Benz Cabriolet with a roof down drove past me and said, "Hey, you're Tom Hugard. My name is Joe. I work for City Index. We're looking for you." And then it's like, "Will you jump in?" And I jumped into the car. It's like what you advise all your kids never to do, I did, ladies and gentlemen. So we're filled now in the DAX school run long. Let me just post this. I'm just doing it in the smaller size because I just want to tell you this story. Also, I do have a suspicion this is a range-bound market. What's the fill? 24,617. 24,537. And sort of within a day or two, an offer was made. And it just so happens that Financial Spreads was merging with another company who already had somebody like me. And it was decided that I was probably the one that was going to be let go. So it was providence, if you will. And then I spent the next 9 years of my life working at City Index, relatively quickly going on to the trading floor and sat there on the trading floor, which was just a lovely experience. And of course, I spent all my time watching people trade, listening to people trading, trading myself, plus, doing my job. And then let's cut a long story at City Index short. And then in 2009, during the financial crisis, things weren't going so well for City Index, and I was let go. I was made redundant. But I had, during my tenure at City Index, been deemed as an essential part. One of those that if another company came and tried to tempt me away, they would put me on garden leave for a long time because they didn't want to lose me to the competition. But of course, that also means that they have to pay you a lot. A company can't put you on garden leave without paying you. And it just so happens that City Index had attempted to put me on garden leave for 18 months. That's how valuable I suppose I was, at least judging by the figure. And so when I was let go and when I was made redundant, they had to pay me 18 months salary. And that's not a bad deal, is it, ladies and gentlemen? Pretty sweet. And I spent that 18 months just working. I had a job offer from IG Markets, and I had a job offer from CMC Markets, and I think also there was a third one. I think it was called GFX at the time. But I decided that the time had come to just trade. But I think this is where the story gets interesting, because I had a lot of knowledge about trading, a lot of knowledge about psychology, and yet I don't think that I felt safe in my role as an independent trader until 2015. Yes, I made money, but not the kind of money that I felt I was capable of making. I felt that I caught my winners too soon. I was too slow at taking my losses. So rather a typical behavior, typical human behavior. And it wasn't really until, and I do emphasize that I did make money trading. and I was able to sustain myself without going into my savings. But I didn't have that feeling of, I know what I'm doing. And that didn't come until I had a very big win in 2015. Between 2009, 10, up until 2015, was just a lot of trial and error, developing different approaches, developing different tools, and a lot of reviewing, a lot of auditing my performance. But then from 2015, things changed mentally. And what really made the difference was that I began to live and breathe this style of trading that I am trading now. Aggressively adding when the momentum was there, and trying to stay out of range-bound markets. And then, of course, as technology became more available, I began to do a lot more research. For example, in 2015, I wasn't able to do all the research that I did, for example, in 2020. So the technology sort of had to catch up as well, which is really a huge part of my success as a trader, is that really reliable data, robust data, had become easier to manipulate. And perhaps also as I aged as a human being and became wiser, it helped that maturity helped me ride winners for longer, and it enabled me to not feel so downbeat over losers. The win that I had in 2015 was significant for me. Somebody here a lady called Angie wanted me to speak about it, and I'm happy to. I don't think the trade is as interesting as perhaps you like it to make it. It was the psychological impact of the trade. But let me find it then, if I can. Do you know what? I need to change this to an hourly chart to really show the impact of it. So there's questions coming in, and I will address them. But let me just see if I can find this piece of data, because I think it tells a story that is worth listening to. Just bear with me. This is e-signal, and you sort of have to manually scroll back Maybe I scrolled back too far. I think I did. But then it should be relatively quickly too. Wow. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, I see what I'm doing wrong. So this is an hourly chart of the Dow. And this is the trade. The story behind it really is that I discovered an entry technique some years earlier that I called the fishing technique. The heart of the fishing technique is nothing original. It's that the market over here goes above an old high and then closes below it. And so the argument that my research had suggested was that when it does that, it has to go back to where it came from. So I argued that this high here was taken out here, and that meant we had to go down to this area here. And that's a pretty big range. And so I began, when we closed below this blue line here, which is the old top, I began to sell short. And I don't remember everything that happened that summer, but what I do remember was that during all of this, there was what we call the Greek bond debacle. This was in 2015. And and Larry Pesavento, he had taught me the rule of harmonics, and I relied heavily on the rule of harmonics to time my entries. And so, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And then the market, and I kept sort of being short and adding to my winning trades. But then we began to close, and I tried to not take profit unless I absolutely had to. And then we began to slide. And it actually happened, much of it happened over a 24-hour period, which was around the 24th of August. And you may say, well, why can you remember the date? Well, because A, it was an enormous payout for me, but B, it was also that evening where all of this, see, three things happened. Where's the box? I am keeping an eye on the DAX on another. One huge fish signal took place 2 months earlier. Two, very good harmonic retracements made it easier to place shorts. 3, market conditions were ripe with Greek bond crisis. 4, summer, low volumes means market moved. 5, story leaked. press 6, my mother's birthday. So that was, so if I go through this one by one, there was a phishing signal. I've explained that to you. Did I just delete that? Oh no, I didn't mean to delete that. I'm not typing it again. There was a phishing technique. There was a bond crisis. And I just kept adding. And it was the first time where I had truly embraced the idea of just keep adding and adding and adding to a winning trade. But the really big moment was here. And you probably have to see this in the context of a DAX chart on the same day. But it was over a weekend. And over that weekend, there was some disastrous news out of Greece. And the market opened limit down. And I had shorted and shorted and shorted and shorted and shorted and shorted. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is where it gets, for me, quite interesting. Because of this line here, that line here, the Dow had gone limit down. And then when it opened, I began to cover my positions that I'd built up over the ensuing weeks. And I think that trade was that trade that we can call I was coming of age. I walked out in that summer night, headed to my mother's birthday party, and this was the year that she turned 80 years old. She's since died, but she turned 80 years old, and brothers and sisters and children and grandchildren and friends and were all present, and so it was an incredibly memorable day. But what made it particularly strange, if you will, was that I had told somebody who I thought was a friend that I had made a significant amount of money. And I see people asking me, how much money did you make? Well, if you look at the headlines, I had told a friend that I had made OBS Studio disconnected, reconnecting, that I had made, and now it's million Danish kroners, which is, you can grab the calculator and you can convert that into your own currency, and that's an astounding amount of money. It's when you consider that an average salary in Europe in Danish kroner is about, at the time was about 500,000, 600,000 Danish kroners. I had made the equivalent of 100 years of salary. And well, you have to appreciate that the human psychology is that nobody is going to say well done when you have made a lot of money from a market that's going down. And so the headline that was leaked to the press was that I had made money at the expense of all the God-fearing Danish citizens who were diligently contributing to their pension fund. And then there was this lone raider on the short side that had contributed to the demise of the financial markets. Something like that. And this news story broke. Not only was the market as weak, even though the irony was that by the time the market was 2-3 hours old in America, it had basically filled the gap. And it recovered very nicely over the following months, as you know, considering that the Dow was trading at 16,000 at the time, and today we are at 50,000. But the news story broke during that evening, during the festivities, which I believe was a Wednesday. I wonder if oh, it must have been a Monday though, wasn't it? It must have been a Monday. Let me just it says that it's a Tuesday, but anyway. No, it was a Monday. And I had my family coming up and asking how I managed to end up on the front page of the tabloids in Denmark being portrayed as the worst of the worst. And so it was you can imagine there was a very strange time. You just made the equivalent of 100 years of average salary through your sheer determination to wanting to make something of yourself in this business. This is a sort of a bigger snapshot of the Dow over a year or so. And I had to fight hard for this, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't come easy. And there was a lot of sacrifice, divorce, not really being in a relationship because you're so committed to making something of yourself. And so in that moment where you perhaps had reason to really celebrate a big victory, it was publicly leaked, and you were almost made to feel bad about your wins. There was a lot of backlash in the months that followed. So, this is not a pity story, it's just a journey, because I felt that this trade made me. It made me financially, but it also gave me that courage to hold on to winners. Now I don't do it nearly as often anymore. I don't know whether I've become less aggressive over the years. Does this story help you understand? Yeah, there it is. Here's somebody dug out the story. So there I am, all handsome with hair, and it says Danish speculator. I earned 43 million. And the story goes that once it started leaking, the press showed up at my doorstep, and I felt that I had to set the record straight. It's a fucking weird time. It really was. Do you remember that I spoke to you about the the absolute horror I've experienced with some of these companies called prop trading companies? Well, there's a very popular company called the Fivers, and this is a review that the Fivers did for one of their clients. And you tell me if you think that this is representative of a company that wants you to succeed. Please be informed that our recent review has identified the use of one-sided betting practices. What the hell? Let's start that again. Please be informed that our recent review has identified the use of one-sided betting practices in your trading activities. While these practices are against our rules and regulations, we want to reassure you that we will activate your funded account once you confirm you received this email, acknowledge that you are aware of our guidelines. One-sided betting means consistently trading in only one direction, only buys or only sells, even when market trends or conditions appear to support that direction, without demonstrating directional diversification. In other words, if you're a Dow Jones trader and we are trading at an all-time high, make sure you put in some short positions as well, because otherwise you are not diversifying your trading. Our concern is not related to whether individual trades were correct or aligned with the market, but to the ongoing use of a single directional approach over time. Under our rules, traders are expected to demonstrate balanced trading behavior and not maintain a permanently one-directional strategy. We kindly ask you to review our guidelines and adhere to them in the future trades to ensure compliance and smooth progression within our program and to remain eligible to advance to the next level. Does this strike you as some company that is quote unquote is engaging in finding the next new talent, or is trying to support you on your ongoing journey as a trader? If you were in a raging bull market in, say, Nvidia or Dow Jones or Nasdaq, and you made money, and you were then told, oh no, you can't be long all the time, you also have to be short. You have to question if this company is really acting in your interest. Anyway. Anyway. It's been lovely trading with you today. We made a lot of money. And I had an opportunity to tell you a story. Let me just want to make sure that I got all the questions in. Kenny saying, thank you for explaining. You radically changed the way I trade over the years following you. Cheers. You are welcome. Comments like that makes it worth it. When you feel that you are making an impact on another human being, that's an invaluable sensation. When you feel that you made a difference in somebody's life, it feels good. So here's an interesting question. Hi Tom, you explained your aggressive style for the time window. Can you explain how you manage losers and when you cut them, as usually you enter a position with your standard big stop loss versus compared to... Yes, I think that's a question that is worthwhile answering. I use some generic stop losses. So for the Dow, it tends to be 150 points, but I don't always make 150 points, or 300 points would be the double of it. You see that? The stop losses are actually just there to have a stop loss when I enter the position. I try not to let my stop losses be hit. So that you should see these stop losses as a sort of a worst case scenario stop loss. The FTSE is pretty to the point, but I try not to lose 150 points in the Dow every time. And I think in the Nasdaq is 120. Yeah, 130. So by having sort of a stop loss far away, it allows me just that breathing room to see where the stop loss appears on the chart and then move it accordingly. Somebody is asking me any advice or tip from Dr. David Paul that you remember. Yes, David Paul was instrumental in my desire to add to winning trades. It was at an event in Johannesburg. I believe it was in 2007. And that's where I had met David Paul for the first time. The story is worth telling. David Paul had come to the office of City Index to try to, with his partner, I think his name is Rod. And Rod and Paul, they ran a seminar business out of South Africa, and they were asking City Index if they were interested in sending clients or training their clients. And my boss was wildly impressed with David Paul. And that really surprised me, because my boss, he was the most fervent opposer of technical analysis, and yet somehow David Paul had convinced him that technical analysis really was the way forward. And so, knowing that, I took contact with David Paul and asked if I could attend his next event. And it was during this event. It was a boring event because there was nothing there that I didn't know, until David Paul said, if you buy at 20 and it goes up at 40, you know what you should do? You should buy more at 40. And it was a real eureka moment. And I went back to City Index and ran research on how many of our clients added to winning trades. And nobody, absolutely not one out of 20, 30,000 clients added to a winning trade. Did they add to a losing trade? Fuck yeah. But did they add to winners? No. And it was this, wow, that is, I wasn't going to say that's the key. That is how you aggressively do the opposing thing to what your psychology wants to do. And so I don't credit David Paul with my aggressiveness or my approach to adding to winning trades, but I credit him fully for putting that thought into my head that we should add to winning trades. And you know what? I have some life-changing trades, 2015, 2018, 2020, that made an impactful, life-changing amount of money. That was because of adding to winning trades. Do you know what? Even in my investment, I add to winning trades. So I have been a collector of gold for about 3 decades now. And so I bought my first gold bar back in 2001, and I bought more at 3, and I bought more at 2005. So even though that the price of gold rallied, I kept buying more and more and more. You know, the world's first billionaire, Andrew Carnegie, he said once that people believe that they have to split their funds up into many different nest eggs. And he said, I don't believe in that. I believe in putting all my money into one egg, one nest, and then watch that nest like a hawk. I thought there was something beautiful about that. Okay. Let's look at the DAX. Coming up to a place where it will probably be worthwhile taking profit. The high end of the range, but I think we can move stop loss to break even at least, considering we got 100 points in profit. What else have we got? Hi Tom, I donated exactly 10% of my first quarter profit trading the DAX with you. I know you do not need this, but in this appreciation of what you're doing, I might not need it, but the people who are helping me developing the software, even though I pay them, I don't pay them nearly as much as I should, and so every little helps for them. It all goes to them. So thank you so much, Steve N. So a friend of mine from Denmark, we shall know him as Morten. Morten says, good morning, Tom. Just heard your comments regarding no thanks, blame and questioning. I think some things never change. I agree with you. All you need is a few good men and women surrounding you, but you are walking a different path. That path makes you successful, but for sure you have to listen to a lot of crap. Yes, you do. Here comes summertime again. I urge you to take some time reflecting of your dream setup. I have talked about virtual trading room with a maximum accountability on the people involved. That is my dream scenario. Wonder what your dream scenario is with all the money you have made for trading, from trading. For sure, nothing prevents you from establishing it. What's my dream? I would really like to write a second book. And I am working on it already. Because I feel that many of the books on psychology that I have read, while I'm not quite qualified at all, for example, I couldn't give you a clinical diagnosis for schizophrenia or narcissism. But I can give you a sense of how to manage your life so that you get far more out of it, both financially but also humanly. And that's the kind of book I would like to write. When it comes to trading, I would say I'm probably closer to the end than I am to the beginning. I'm not tired of trading, but it doesn't give me quite the same fulfillment anymore that it once did. And that's me being honest with myself. I'm not being honest with you per se. I'm being honest with myself. Yes, I love trading, but there are things now in my life that are perhaps as important. And it's not about ensuring my legacy, because legacy is such an ego-driven and a vanity-driven concept. Once I'm dead, I'm dead. What do I care whether I have my name on a building? It just doesn't really resonate with me. But what does resonate with me, I would love to share a story with you. One second. Just bear with me. So, you know this boy here. That's not a very good image. 1 second. So this is Matt over here. And Matt, he won the Grand Slam at the Roland Garros for wheelchair. And he's 13 years old. Now, I know you know this story already, but here's a story that you don't know. During his victory speech, he thanked his sponsors, he thanked his parents and his coaches. But you know who the last person he was to thank? That was me. And I have it on video. And when I heard it, I just cried. He said, but the last person I want to thank is Tom. He didn't say Tom Hugard, he just said Tom, and that's fine. He said, thank you so much for your never wavering support. And the truth is that the royalties that I receive from my book goes to charities, but only children's charities. I only want to support children in adversity or that needs a helping hand. And Matt is one of those that I have personally selected as wanting to help. I got to know Matt through his father, Gavin. But here's the kicker of it all. He then said, and that was what really moved me to tears. He said, this tennis racket, and he held up the tennis racket that he's just won his first Grand Slam with. I want to give that to you as a thank you. And it absolutely just blew me away that a young man of just turned 13 years old, the youngest Grand Slam winner ever, has just donated his winning racket to me. So I reached out to him and I said, Matt, I want to accept the present, but I don't want your racket. I just want to keep it for as long as I'm alive, and then you can have it back. And I want to frame it because your story motivates me to keep working hard. Because I can make an impact. And what I did through my financial contribution was I enabled Matt to have his coach and his parent with him in Paris. And that's what I mean about making a difference in somebody's life. And that means more to me than whether I'm riding the DAX for a good profit or I was on board a really big move in the Dow Jones index. Yeah, you need to make money to pay the bills. But this kind of story, those are the ones that you remember. And so my dream scenario is to take what I have learned about myself, the stoic lessons, and applying it to everyday life. I don't know if you know this about me, but I get up so early that people think that is a joke. The reason why I do that is because if I don't, I can't fit in all the things I want to do during a day. I won't have time to prepare the food. I won't have time to do the research. I don't have time to dream up new settings and scenarios in trading, and I don't have time to look after myself. Is there a sacrifice for that? Yeah. I don't go to bed at 11 o'clock at night either. I have to get to bed early, meaning that, there's many good movies that I have yet to watch. And I suppose that's the trade-off. Do you ever wake up in the morning and you're not really sure what you'll be doing that day? Or you wake up and you don't really have anything to work towards? Or at night and it's sort of another half-wasted day where you didn't really do anything meaningfully to move towards your goals, and you're lying at bed at night and you ask yourself, how many more of these days do I want before I begin to take my life seriously? How many more of these days of just drifting through the day with no real purpose, no real direction, do I have to experience before I really begin to take my life seriously? Food for thought. Probably should have taken the profits up here, but if the old high is at 742, you're thinking, it's probably going to go to 742. It only went to 27. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'll stop streaming now. Looks like a positive day. So maybe we should just hold on to this DAX. I'll stop here. The stop loss is at break even. Maybe you can manage this position yourself. Lots of love. I will see you for the US session. Take care of yourself. If I didn't answer your question, I do apologize. I hope that what I did say had some impact on you. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.